Welcome back, friends, and today we are going to attempt to dive deeply into the first card of the tarot, the Fool. So, first deck I got was Rider-Waite when I was a teenager, and I really thought it was a really powerful, extreme, super satanic deck, and I couldn't have been any more wrong. How misleading it is to be brought up as a Christian and not realize what the fuck tarot cards really are. So as we get older and more wise and we just start to formulate our own opinion that's pretty much permanent about life, it's kind of hard to look at things in a way that is objective and makes sense without deluding ourselves about what we're doing as tarot readers. So what I think is most important for starting out, if this is a hobby that you're now picking up or you're a professional reader even, one of the things I like to really stress, at least for my experience using these cards, is I like to have cards that reflect the energy of the actual character, so that even if you don't know that this is the Fool, anyone can look at this picture and figure out what the energetic signature is of it and what the Fool is trying to tell us. So it's one thing to know the definitions of the Fool. That's great. Anyone can Google it. The importance of the Fool is this. The Fool is the beginning, and the Fool is a path that is not good or evil. It is someone who simply has an opportunity and doesn't realize the dangers, doesn't realize the potential. They are arrogant in their endeavor, and they just sort of, for lack of a better term, are walking blindly through life as they have not gained anything or lost anything yet. So the Fool is someone who kind of represents everyone and no one at the same time. Acting without thought, mania, extravagance. As you can see, he's pretty dolled up. He's a very airy-fairy, Peter Panish type character. So the energy that I get right away from him is, yeah, he is a fool. He's got, he's dancing on the edge of a cliff with a little dog, but he does have a little white flower in his hand, which represents the innocence of the Fool, meaning that he's not necessarily being a fool because he's evil. He just simply is a fool. And he knows nothing yet. It's not that he's ignorant, it's that he hasn't learned. There's so much to be said about this card, and it's such a powerful card. Intoxication. He's obviously full of himself. He is, in a lot of ways, arrogant, but at the same time, he's not really even arrogant because he doesn't know that he's being arrogant. So this is what makes this card a little hard to describe. So back again to the energetic signature of these cards, I like to know that even if I look at a card, it's not Rider-Waite, which is my standard go-to for definitions, basically, that it still looks similar. Okay, so Deviant Moon, okay, it's got very similar, if not almost identical traits. There is water, there is creatures. Instead of the sun, you have the moon. So I see this as a energetic Fool that is more bright and spontaneous, as where this Fool is more a dark Fool. He's, skipping through stagnant water, and he could care less. So the Fool is just someone who's in the beginning of their journey. That's all that it means. So what about reversed? What do we get when we get a card and we flip it upside down? So the way that I take the meanings for a card, well, anytime I see the major arcana, one of them, the first thing that I say to myself is, what is the entire definition for the card? So I'm not just saying, oh, it's upright. What are the good meanings? I'm also saying, this card is the Fool. It could mean this or that. And the reason that's important is because when you do a 10-card spread, the Fool, depending on where you put your Fool, in what position he's supposed to be in, he reflects something totally different each time. So the definition is important, but it's really where the Fool is at. that I think is important. And with all cards, the position obviously is what is going to tell the story of the 10 card spread. So you have the Fool in his full glory, in full ignorance, unaware. This is kind of a, for lack of a better term, I would say, take a character like Joe Biden, someone who's very, let's just say aloof, probably not very all together there mentally because of his age and God only knows what kind of drugs he's on or has used in his party boy adventures of life. But he's kind of the fool. He's easily misled. He doesn't know that there's danger all around him. He's a fool because he is leading as a fool. You see, if you're a feeble old man who can't string a fucking sentence together, you definitely fall under this category because people would say, whoa, you can't get mad at Biden, man. He's just an old man. He doesn't know any better. No, he knows fucking better. But he is old and he is senile. So what happens when you have the fool as your fucking president? Well, come to New York City, come to Los Angeles, come to San Francisco, come to any major city and look at the fucking hellholes they have become under his watch. I don't give a shit what party you think you're in. Open your fucking eyes, man. This man is a criminal. So anyway, before I relate each card to someone I don't like, which I don't want to go down that path exactly, the whole point is pick a deck where the cards stand out and make sense in relation to the drawing and the meaning. The woman who made this deck was an adept Golden Dawn student, and she, her energy shines through in this. The era they were in and everything, it really does kind of capture the spirit of the kind of paintings, the watercolor that they would do back then, and just things were so much more simple. The fool is easily spotted. We can tell right away that he's a fool because the characters and the depiction in the card show that it's a fool. That's important because there are a lot of cards in a tarot deck. So if you're like me, and I still once in a while will get a foggy memory on one of those cards, any of the cards, and I just look it back up and boom, my memory is refreshed again. But what makes it so confusing is when you have all these decks, okay, just mountains of decks and books and descriptions and all this shit, what I eventually do is just say, okay, that shit's all very nice. It's nice to read these different definitions from each deck, but let's get back to basics. When you see a card that's the fool, what is the energy of that fool? So one of the things to consider about a tarot card is all these characters in the tarot are real. They have become real and have a real spirit in the astral plane, because everybody who has used these decks and has come forward with the concept of the fool, when we see that fool, we conjure the fool into that subconscious realm where he can speak to us and say, okay, dive a little deeper into this card, stand next to him, let him whisper in your ear, let the fool tell you where we're going. And that is a whole different level of psychic response opposed to just seeing a card and spitting the meaning out. The point of a good tarot reader is not that they know the definitions memorized, it's that they have taken on the energetic signature of every single card, so that when they see that card, they feel the energy, meaning the emotional current of it, all right? And then instantly images, sounds, sights, and other things start to come into play, and it's what I would call a flow. So there's this flow that comes out because you're not thinking about the definition of the card. You're looking at the fool and you're looking at the cards that are all around it, and you're putting them all in relation to them. But the last thing you should be thinking is, okay, I got a couple cards here. What are the definitions? Let me look them up. Best thing to do is to just simply make a pack of cards similar to this. Just get these probably a little bit smaller, or if you want, these are great. Take these index cards and put what your definition is for each card on it, just like I did here. So as we go, you will have created your own practice deck, and all you got to do is go, boom, the Fool, say out loud what you think the meanings are. If you didn't nail it, flip it over, here's your meaning. So that's all I really wanted to say, is that I'm going to go through each card of the deck, and we're going to focus on the original meanings of the Rider-Waite, but we're also going to bring in some more of the darker, more demonic decks and show how different cards in different decks project slightly different energy. The person that's in control of the operation is obviously going to have a great influence over the card themselves and that way that they feel that energy because of our astral makeup. So depending on when you were born and depending on what sign you are, you're of course going to be tainted by those planets, those spheres, and that time in which you came into this earth. So when you are reading cards as a tarot reader, you have to remember it's your point of view that also is going to make that reading more relatable to the client or whoever or whatever you're working for. Reading for yourself, I think, is still the hardest, because when you're reading for yourself, you have to put 100% faith into what you're seeing, and after a while it gets really good and it can become an internal process where you're not just thinking, well, okay, well, I could have picked 10 other cards and it would have meant probably similar things or whatever. You can't do that. You have to have faith in your psychic talent and understand that these cards actually mean nothing. They are simply pieces of cardboard with a picture on it that you need to assign your meaning to, so that whenever you see this picture, this word, you have an instant recall and emotional surge of what these cards project. It's not about the meaning, it's about the feeling of the cards. So, card of light, happy Fool, a little bit darker, more Freddy Krueger-ish nightmare type Fool, which is what I prefer. Dark blessings, my friends. We are going to attack the tarot one card at a time, and there's more to come.